Hello, BookTube. I'm back, as you can see. The Bean has had an exhausting day. Exhausting. Not only the drive up here, she was very good on the drive up here, and we stopped at a Goodwill. We stopped at a charity store to look for books, and she was very good in there. I noticed it was one of the first times I've had her inside a crowded, strange commercial space, someplace she's never been before, where I didn't have to just constantly carry her. It used to be that when I would put her in a place like that, she would panic so bad at being overstimulated that I had to carry her in my arm, and I didn't have to do that this time around. Instead, she walked with me, and she was able to walk right up to people and say hello. But that was still, it was fun, but it was a strain on her. It's why she's so tired. And let me not forget the biggest strain of all. I don't know how many of you follow Mark on Instagram, or perhaps have heard the occasional expletive-ridden comment on his own videos, but the little farmhouse here in Vermont has been colonized by a rooster. I confess, I would never suspect Mark of telling a whopper, but I didn't actually believe it until I saw it. And it's true. There's a gigantic yellow-clawed rooster who clearly thinks the front of this house belongs to him. So he struts around and he clucks and he looks at the lawn, and then he goes back up onto the porch and just stands there surveying his kingdom. And of course, when we got here, he encountered Frida, and there are pictures. And I think that Mark has a much better Deb than I do. Apparently, I got the model they discontinued. I think that Mark's Deb. That's why I'm using possessives here, not because this is the Gore novels and all the women are possessions of the men. It's because there are two Debs in the equation here. And I think she can probably insert pictures so that you won't have to take my word for it, because it's kind of amazing. I have a feeling that in the next few days, something is going to have to break because between these two. Because this rooster does not back down. He clearly thinks this is his house. But I wanted to make a video. The Bean is tired. That's the point I was trying to make. But I wanted to make a video and show you the proceeds from that Goodwill, because we diverted to go there, specifically to look for books. When I come to Vermont, I have access to thrift shops that I don't usually see, and access to a car. So although I don't need books at all, and I go book shopping. And we went there because going to the Goodwill in whatever town you are, if you're not from America, it from time immemorial has been a great thing to do, because you're going to find really good books for really cheap. And that, I am prepared to say now, has completely changed and is now permanently done. I don't think I would ever go to a Goodwill again, unless I did what would have been unthinkable at one point and gone to a Goodwill and simply ignored the book section. You can go there for clothes or an end table or something like that, but the book selection is not only crappy, but overpriced. It used to be that every Goodwill in the country had a set pricing, and it would just be posted on the wall, and that's not true anymore. I saw things at this Goodwill, crappy, battered, creased mass market paperbacks of standard stuff, V.C. Andrews, George R.R. Martin, for $4 or $5. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But momentum carried me, so I got a few books. Probably this will be the last time I buy books at a Goodwill anywhere in the world. So I want to show them to you. Now, one, I think, may be just before we started talking to each other, or maybe not. Maybe we saw an advance copy of this when it first came, 2016. It could have been. We could have seen this on my channel. I know you've seen it in the background. This is a contemporary novel. This is by Nathan Hill, and it is The Nix. Big, thick thing. I think this was his debut. I loved it, and I wasn't alone. The whole critical world loved this thing. A big countercultural novel, a big slice of life 1960s and 70s novel that's also managed to be a very touching son and mother dynamic that runs throughout the whole book and actually gets stronger as it goes along. I have a theory, of course, about this book. I have a theory that particular part of this book was inspired by The Simpsons. Now, I have never met Nathan Hill. I will never meet Nathan Hill, and if I did, I certainly wouldn't embarrass him by asking this question. But I'd be willing to bet that if he ingested even a fraction of the wine that I'm going to ingest here at the little farmhouse, he would admit that this book was born in the classic Simpsons episode in which Homer meets his mother. who has been a 60s fugitive on the run and resurfaces to get to know him. I'd be willing to bet that that is the case. But one way or another, I love the book, and I haven't read it since I think it made my best fiction of the year, or maybe best debut fiction of the year in the epic list that is currently thundering your way. And I haven't read it since then. So I saw this Goodwill and thought, oh, great, fantastic. Paperback, $1. Of course it wasn't. It was like $70, but still. And then this next one I have mentioned on this channel before. This is a YA series, also from before we knew each other. This was right at the beginning of 2009. Yeah, this was in the early years of Open Letters Monthly. And the publisher... okay, this hardcover says Kane Miller. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's who sent it to us originally, but whoever the publisher was originally sent this to us, and it's something I mentioned on this channel before. It's a teen protagonist who, at the beginning of the first book, encounters a crazy guy who says they killed your father and they're gonna kill you too, which would pass for ordinary neighborhood small talk in South Boston. But in this book, it sets off a whole series of adventures. And this is the first one. It's Conspiracy 365, and the first book is January. And the series went on for a whole year. And I don't think that this was ever issued as a hardcover. I have a feeling that this was redone for a school. I got it as a paperback, and I think the whole series was paperback. I could be wrong about that. And then the last one I got for the Chris McGrath cover. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But I haven't read this in a long time. When did this? 2010. Another 2010. This is Vampire Empire Book 1, The Greyfriar, and this is set in an alternate reality. Another vampire alternate reality. It's not quite Anno Dracula. Instead, it's the whole world, and it's the vampires swept through the northern hemisphere in the mid 19th century. And killed most people, turned a lot of people, and it turns out that vampires and people from South Boston share something in common, which is that they really can't handle the bright sunlight of the tropics. So humanity just moved to the tropics and started forming empires down there because the vampires really just couldn't take it. It's so hot down here. I don't even feel like killing someone and draining their blood. It's just so hot and humid. And this book takes place. This book 1 is The Greyfriar, and the Greyfriar is the name of the cool, badass, bro dude hero who is really good at killing vampires in this book, and he falls in love with a princess of one of those southern kingdoms, and it kicks off everything from there. I seem to remember who does this? Clay Griffith and Susan Griffith. I seem to remember liking this quite a bit, but I haven't read it in 10 years. So I saw it at this Goodwill, and I saw precious little else there that I wanted, so I just grabbed it. And that is the first installment of the book part of this vacation at the little farmhouse. So I'm hoping that things only go up from here. So we shall see. And there's bound to be lots of other video content. So I'll wrap this up, but I'll see you soon. Thank you, Book 2.